little chat. A lot of women assume that when they leave a relationship, a short-term dating relationship, maybe only a few dates or maybe something longer term, and they don't assume that he really has any negative emotions after it, right? This is something that a woman who doesn't know a ton about men can just believe, right? A very high quality woman might fall into that trap if she has lingering insecurities that she hasn't dealt with yet. But here's what I actually find. If you are a woman who is awake and open and activated in her feminine, beautiful, physically embodied, comfortable with her sexuality side, and with a deep, profound love and admiration and respect for the healthy masculinity that men are designed to embody, and that alone right there is stunning. But if you add in the third component of a relationship with God, of a spiritual side that understands the depth of the human experience and what we're really here for and what really matters, and has, some books will call this the human qualities and the angelic qualities. When a woman like that walks out of the picture for whatever reason, maybe she ended things, maybe he ended things, maybe it was a misunderstanding, whatever, often it will trigger a sort of dark night of the soul in the man. And he has an option, right? When that happens, this is when you see guys who kind of go off the rails at the end of a relationship. And I'm not talking about the narcissists, the abusers who literally almost lose their minds because they've lost control of their kind of prey, right? I'm talking about I don't want to call him healthy, but not an abusive, not a narcissist, just a guy who's on his developmental path, right? And he didn't quite either know what he had, or maybe some other, unforeseen, uncontrollable circumstance happened, but he's not a bad guy. He just kind of hadn't woken up yet to the even fuller capacity he has for divine masculinity. When the woman walks out or leaves or he walks or whatever, right? He's got kind of an existential crisis, usually. Okay, this happens so much. I see it all the time. I see it with my clients. It's so common. And he has a choice, right? He has a choice. Is he going to, and often they kind of will do a little bit of both. So if you see a guy who's just like, he's at the bars, he's got some, instant new kind of low level, like, where did you find her kind of girlfriend? Or maybe he throws himself into, hopefully not, but some kind of toxic relationship with alcohol or partying or whatever, just kind of risky behaviors. He's trying to escape emotions that he doesn't understand. And what I want you to hear is that this is beyond normal breakup emotions, right? There's normal breakup where people are just like down and sad and whatever. And then there's kind of the narcissist abuser, complex issue where they're losing their mind because they've lost control of another human being. This is a different thing, okay? This is when it's like his angel has walked out of his life and now it feels very dark and he doesn't know how to process the darkness, right? So sometimes they will kind of go down into the, partying world or whatever their variation of that. Sometimes they'll bury themselves in work. Sometimes it's a combination of both. But the wise man, and what I find more and more and more men are doing, is they either consciously or unconsciously understand that this is an opportunity for, whether they're cognizant again of it being a spiritual opportunity, but there's a level of awakening that they realize they can have. Basically, what they very highly valued, even if they didn't when they had her, maybe they did, has left the building, and now there's this tug of probably some grief, some anger, some it's her fault, and also, I want her back. I want to be the man who deserves that. I want to be her equal, and whether or not there's any promise of her coming back or not, or just a sense of, I'm not going to let this happen again with the next excellent woman who I meet, but they rise internally, or they certainly decide to a certain new level of masculinity, to what is often called, many different definitions of it, but the divine masculine. And to me, that's simply just the healthy manifestation of a man, right? internally, externally. He's mastered in his spiritual life, his mental life, his emotions, his physical, logistical around him, etc. He's just rising into a king or into an emperor, into just this beautiful, high level man, right? So again, just kind of quickly recap what I've said so far. When a high quality woman walks out of a man's life, it's like the angel leaves the building and there's a crisis. It's almost like a spiritual crisis. And that's why I'm calling it a dark night of the soul. And he has options, and often he will go through most of the options. You know what I mean? He'll have, the anger, he'll have the kind of trying to check out, he'll have the trying to numb out, he'll try the, other chicks to forget her, he'll try, partying, he'll try weeping and sobbing and begging God that she would come back, whatever. And then when that kind of that wave of initial reactions ends, there is, what am I going to do now? What kind of man am I going to be now? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want this to happen again. And the pain of not so much that she's gone, although they may blame it on that, or they may assume that that's what it is, but the pain of recognizing that there's a higher level of myself that I could be behaving in, or I could have behaved in, or I could in the future behave in, and I'm not, and I want that. Like, I want to get there. I want to become that man. So that woman's presence in his life, and then often departure, whether it's temporary or permanent, can create this incredible spiritual awakening in a man that inspires him to want to more fully embody divine masculinity. Now, here's the thing, ladies. You don't have control over whether or not that happens. It might not, right? He might really just go down, you know what I mean? And who knows, whether through food or alcohol or, other women or excessive working or whatever, he may just bury himself in something to try to ignore what is actually an internal spiritual catalyst calling. Like, let's go. You know what I mean? You can do better than this. Rise up. Either go get her or, just become the kind of man who next time, well, either will keep her, or if that relationship is just not meant to pan out, is grounded more, is embodied more, is what we want in relationships, I think, is to be proud of who we were no matter what happens. Right? Because you can't control the other person. So you can't control what he does. You can't control whether he comes after you. You can't control whether he doesn't. You can't control whether he goes into some kind of spiral of negative behaviors trying to numb out the feelings. You can't control whether he rises to the occasion of this spiritual awakening catalyst and steps into more divine masculinity. You cannot control a thing. All you can do is be the inspiration. Okay? And what sometimes women will do is they get into their own toxic cycles of blaming men, or coming up with stories about men, or internal unconscious or conscious beliefs about men that tell the wrong story, that tell the untrue story, right? That blame all kinds of things on him or call him all kind of toxic adjectives or something. And in so doing, become, kind of a toxic woman herself, right? Where it's men's fault, or men are like that. We don't want to go there. Okay? When you start to understand more deeply the opportunity of a spiritual journey that the masculine has, you stay grounded in your worth, in your value, in your boundaries, and in your openness to men, because it's not anymore a how could he, and that's just what they do, and I'm never going to allow that again, and as in I'm never going to not allow toxic behavior, but I'm never going to allow a man in again. And we start to create a block, because here's the thing. When they have this catalyst of wanting to become a better man, if all of the women have made up BS stories about all men are untrustworthy, or all men are like, or whatever, there's nowhere for him to go, right? Our job is to hold our standard, be the inspiration of rising to a higher level of masculinity, and be open to a man who is on that journey and doing his best, right? They're not perfect. We're not perfect. Our job is to hold the open space and hold the standards at the same time. It's like truth and grace, compassion and an awareness that I'm not coming down there with you, but I'm waiting here for you when you rise up to meet me. Yes? So you can't chase him. I don't want you to. You can't convince him. It's not possible. But you can remain the inspiration, and then he has the free will to decide what is he going to do with the grief, perhaps, the pain that essentially cognitive dissonance of recognizing I am not the man I want to be, or in whatever situation I was not the man I want to be. What do I do now? And it takes enormous courage and humility, which is a powerful combination, to decide to allow himself to grow into the next level of his masculinity. Your job is to stay in your femininity at your level, call him up, wait for him if that suits the situation, and then welcome him like with open arms when he is making steps toward that, right? I deeply believe that women lead emotionally, right? I know men are leaders, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I agree, right? And I think women are leaders too. But in the emotional world, whether it's a home, a workspace, whatever, culturally, women lead the emotional vibe. We just do. Have you ever been in a home where the woman was so clearly out of sync? Well, there's a very nice way of saying that. Out of sync with healthy emotional processing and expression. And whether it was a home that was filled with rage or filled with quiet, unspoken passive aggression or constant blaming and whining, she, unless she was kind of the reticent, abused, non-dominant at all, practically erased personality. But in many situations, women determine the emotional culture of whatever kind of space they're in. Okay? And because of that, I think women have the capacity sometimes, and I think it's happening, to be spiritually aware faster. Okay? Which I think lands us at this point in time in a space where so many women are aware of the kind of healthy and high functioning relationships they want. And men are kind of running to catch up. Now, what I hear is so many women talking to me saying, I just want someone who's, I'm just going to pull adjectives out of the air, okay? I want someone who's, humble and courageous and bold and dominant, but not too dominant, and respectful, but like all of these things, right? And we're essentially haphazardly, these are women who, often are not super familiar with this work, but they're kind of piecemeal describing a divine masculine, right? And they're like, why aren't men like this? I think it's because we are maybe spiritually, emotionally a little bit ahead of them, okay? That does not make us better. It just means, frankly, I think it's God's design, but that's another video for another day. We're usually the emotional, the spiritual leader. And I'm not saying the spiritual head of the household stuff. Don't even take me down that road right now. It's a whole nother conversation. I just mean the female divine intuition tends to know things a little bit faster if she's healthy, if she's in tune, if she's healed, if she's not in one of these damaged female archetypes, a little bit faster than the masculine. And so women are there, or they're getting there, and they're feeling that, and they're like, where's the man who's my match? Why am I seeing these guys who have it's like they've got the flavor of divine masculinity, but then they're not quite there, and they just kind of can't seal the deal. And sometimes it's actually because the woman is blocking it. Sometimes it's because she's not open. Sometimes it's because she's misidentified someone who's actually got narcissistic traits, and her disappointment is not because, oh, he's not a divine masculine. It's because, oh, he's not a healthy person at all, right? But what I think and what I see and what I want you to know is that there is this tidal wave. Pick a metaphor that you like. You can call it a steam engine. It's a freight train. It's a jumbo jet that's about to land, but you're not looking at it and you can't hear it yet because the sound is behind it. You know what I'm saying? Something is coming, and these men are rising up in record numbers. And I'm not just making that up to make you feel better. If you get on YouTube or you start talking with men or you listen to podcasts, the concept of divine femininity has been around for a couple of years now. It's almost passé. It's a little beat to death and, misunderstood sometimes, misrepresented, I think. A lot of things I could say there and will in the future. But divine masculinity discussed by men, men, okay, is more and more and more and more. So it's coming, ladies, okay? It's coming. More and more conscious men, more and more emotionally cognizant, conscious, available men who are both aware of their interior world and working on mastering it, and still that delicious, dominant, divine masculine that every woman craves, right? It's this magnificent combination, and it's coming, okay? It's coming like, again, like a wave, like a jumbo jet, like a train, like it's coming, and it's coming fast. And more men, and I think possibly, especially during COVID, where so many structures that often masculinity depends on were knocked out from underneath us, have led men to start questioning, there's got to be more to me, there's got to be more to life, there's going to be, like, there's something that I hadn't been paying attention to that now I'm going to start paying attention to. My question for you as the woman is, are you healed? Are you open? Are you ready to receive? Because a lot of women want this kind of man, but when he shows up, all of the self-sabotaging behaviors kick in. Yes? I can't tell you when he's going to come. I can tell you that he's coming. And I can tell you that the road will be a lot smoother if you prepare while you're waiting. Instead of wondering, where is the ideal man? Become the ideal woman, and the ideal man will walk in sooner than you could ever dream. Okay? I love you guys. Don't give up hope. This is so exciting. I mean, I always feel like, to me, like in the domain of kind of spiritual awareness and maturity, it feels like, I don't know, this is going to sound really weird, but go with me. It feels like mating season is coming. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have so many conscious women who are doing not just the guru spiritual internal quote unquote work that makes people feel like they're, you know, special and superior, but they're not actually looking at their own flaws and failures with humility and dealing with their real issues. They're just kind of like overusing the term issues without actually healing them, right? Those women have been around for a while, and now the men are coming. It's like they're coming home, okay? So get ready, get excited, and stay calm, because at the end of the day, you can't control what any dude does, but you can become the kind of woman who's able to receive that. And again, as always, we're not doing this for men. We're doing this as the fullest expression of a divine design of femininity from God, and because it's fun for us. But the side effect is someone wonderful is able to step in to a beautiful divine masculine role. Thank you.